topic today is polyrhythms. And by polyrhythms, I mean simultaneous playing of two contrasting rhythms. Things like 5 against 4, 6 against 7, 3 against 2, and so forth. Well, why did I want to talk about this? I find that people find it confusing to organize the two hands together sometimes when polyrhythms are involved. Sometimes I work with teachers that have a hard time communicating the idea to their students. Also, I find that people sometimes don't know how the triggering works from the standpoint of physical experience. And finally, people sometimes don't know how to transition from the learning stage to the playing stage. So what I'd like to do is try to demystify it, give you a formula that will work every time, and show you some examples. Now, in order to get ready to put the hands together when two different rhythms are involved, several things have to happen. First of all, what we're going to do is map out exactly how the hands intersect with each other. And one of your handouts, the one that says Polyrhythms Made Easy, will show you exactly how this works. So I'd like for you to refer to that as I'm talking and as the examples are being played so that you can see exactly how this all works. The first thing we need to do is multiply the number of notes in one hand by the number of notes in the other hand and add 1. That's our formula. So for example, in the Beethoven excerpt, example 1, we have a situation that involves 4 against 3. 4 times 3 is 12, add 1, and that makes 13. The reason that we add 1 will become apparent as we go along. So you're going to draw 13 little note heads, and then organize each hand to show the right number of notes, and you see that on your handout. Now, this resulting composite indicates precisely how the hands will intersect. You can also get the same result if you want an approach that's based on fractions. For example, 4 divided by 3 is 1 1/3, and you can apportion the notes that way between the two hands. You get the same result on the printed page. So, how do we put the passage into the hands? We need, first of all, to distinguish between an absolute vertical togetherness and then a togetherness of another kind that involves triggering. By vertical togetherness, I mean the feeling that 4 notes play at exactly the same time. Just for reference sake, I'm starting at the polyrhythm in the Beethoven example, example 1. It's the end of the first measure, where you see the 4/32 against the triplet. This togetherness must be felt as one event for the body, not two hands, but one event for the body. It's not a casual togetherness for the two hands, it's a very intentional togetherness for the two hands. So when the right hand plays, the left hand must play at exactly the same time. Now the next thing that happens in the polyrhythm is a moment where the right hand is going to cue the left hand, because the second note of the right hand should bring the second note of the left hand in. And you see that from the composite diagram we made at first, that Polyrhythms Are Easy page. So what happens here is that after that togetherness, the right hand is going to bring in the left hand. Now this is one of the issues that generally causes people a problem. It's not two separate experiences, the playing of the right hand and left hand, but it's one experience. It's a feeling of right-left. You could call it almost a drunken togetherness if you want to, or like a grace note. Whatever the right hand does, it must bring the left hand in. It's not exactly at the same moment. They have a very particular relationship. The right hand plays first, the left hand follows, but it is a relationship nonetheless. When you're trying to put a passage like this into your hands, you want to feel that first togetherness and then play to the first triggered pair of notes. So that would be what the practicing is at first. I need to feel together, and then I need to feel the triggering. If you're having trouble feeling that on the keyboard, you can actually get away from the keys for the moment. If you want, feel the two hands together, and then feel the right bring the left in. Do you see how that works up here? Together, right, left. It's not right, left, it's right, left. So that becomes one event for the body too. It's not the event of vertical togetherness, but it's an event that involves a quick succession of right going to left, and there shouldn't be any separation of the two. So what we'll do when we try to put it together again is feel the togetherness, feel the right going to the left, and then feel passing back to the right hand again. So we're building this up in stages, just like a bricklayer would build a house, one brick on top of another. That's going to give us a good result in the end. So I'm feeling the initial togetherness. I played the first triggered pair of notes, I go back to the right hand, and then I go to the next triggered pair of notes. And here the left hand brings the right hand in. You can see that from your composite sketch again, that the left brings the right hand in. One more time, together, right, left, right, and then the final togetherness must be felt. Now, after those relationships are felt, you want to play through the entire passage slowly again so you can sense those relationships from start to finish as you play. One more time, together, right, left, right, together. So, this needs to be done until it feels automatic for the hands. But beyond a certain tempo, you can't think that way anymore. When we transition to a playing speed, we want this response in the hands to have become so automatic that the hands simply do it without thinking. A couple of things about the triggering that will help. The triggering always takes place between the two closest notes in the composite of the rhythms. So again, if you'll look at that first example, the right hand is going to trigger the left here, and then the left triggers the right here. I know that's confusing if you're just listening, so be sure to refer to the handout or the printout so you can see that. After the first togetherness, the right brings in the left hand, then the left hand brings in the right hand, then they play together again. Now, the tempo, of course, has to be slow when you're working this way, and this is only for the learning stage. You do want to transition to a playing stage where you're not thinking about it. But what you're doing here is you're having the fingers learn an automatic response so that the hands will always mesh in a particular way. Again, the fingers are learning an automatic response so that the hands will always go together in that same particular way. Now, as you get a little faster, what you want to listen for is the beginning togetherness and the ending togetherness. That's why it's important, that first formula that I gave you, to multiply the number of notes in one hand by the number of notes in the other hand and add one. You need that final one, that final moment of togetherness to really feel what it's like to have the hands play at exactly the same moment again. So as we go a little bit faster, what I'm listening for and what I'm feeling, it's so much a sense of feeling. It's a fingertip affair. It's not an affair of the brain tips. This has to be sensed on a very visceral level. What you want to listen for is the beginning togetherness and the ending togetherness. Then you can listen for the melodic line, the expressiveness that you want in that melody as the hands play together. So after the polyrhythm is worked out and after it feels secure, you'll know that it feels secure when you don't have to think about it. If you find that you have to think about it again and again, it exists too much in your head and not enough on the fingertip level. So what we're trying to do is get to the point where we're not thinking about when the left triggers the right or when the right triggers the left. We're simply feeling the hands go together in a particular way and get the result that we want. Then you can put it in a slightly broader context. So we'll start at the beginning of the measure. And that should knit right in to the fabric of the music that you're playing without any kind of interruption at all. Do you see how that works? We're building it up in stages so that the hands understand where they play exactly together, where one hand triggers the other, where one hand passes again to the other, and where they play together again. I hope it's clear, but I'm going to do some other examples so that you'll get a chance to see it in action once again. Let's take a look at example number 2. This is from the Debussy Le Joyeuse, and we have 5 against 3 here. So what's the formula? 5 times 3 is 15, add 1, that's 16. So you see on the handout, the printout, that you have 16 little note heads, and then they're organized to show the exact relationship that the two hands will have. We're going to put this in the hands in the same way. We're going to feel that initial togetherness. I'm at the very beginning of example 2. The hands have to sense what it's like to be vertically aligned at that moment. Not two hands playing together, but one body experience. It feels like an absolute vertical togetherness, an absolute coincidence of 5 separate notes. Not 4 for the right hand and 1 for the left hand. Of course it breaks down that way, but what the body experiences is 5 notes going down. Then I'm going to play to that first triggered pair of notes. And you see from the composite that the right is going to trigger the left. So here, do you hear how the right triggers the left? That kind of relationship where it's not exactly together, but it's still so close that you would say that they have a relationship that can't be violated. So again, together, right, left, left, right is the next moment of intersection. Then the final moment of togetherness on the downbeat of measure 2. Let's try that again. Together, right, left, right, together. Now the second measure works in exactly the same way as the first. 5 in the left hand against 3 in the right hand. So we'll build it up in the same way. We feel that initial togetherness in the second measure. Then the right hand triggers the left hand. That needs to be felt first. If that's not secure, it's pointless to go on. So again, feeling the togetherness, right, left, left, right. Then you see we go to the next moment of meshing of the two hands. So again in the second measure, together, right, left, left, right, then together. So as we gather speed a little bit, what I'm thinking is the togetherness on the downbeat of measure 1, the togetherness on the downbeat of measure 2, and the togetherness on the downbeat of measure 3. I'm listening for an even, expressive melody as I play each note. Now you say, how do you know that the hands are relating in the same way when you go fast? You can't think of it. You're absolutely right. You can't think of it, but you've trained your hands to interact in a particular way. You've built a habit. That's why it's important to work in this way. Now let me say right here that if you're not having any problems at all, I wouldn't take it apart. What's working well? Great. Just let it work well. But if you're having trouble with it, or if one of your students is having trouble with it, you want to examine what mechanism can I use that will make it function better. You know that in order to build a habit, you have to repeat the same motion in exactly the same way. It's the consistency of the repetition that's going to build the habit. And if you're just trying to put the two hands together and it's a little bit haphazard, they may go together one way one time, another way another time, and you don't get that consistency. So it's really the consistency of repetition that you're looking for that's going to create the habit. And that's why it's so important to work in a way where the hands mesh the same way every time you put them together. Then after you've done it a few times, I don't know, it will vary on the situation and on the skill level how many times you have to do it. It doesn't take too long working together this way though, until the hands really begin to get a sense of exactly how they go together, just at the fingertip level. Again, not thinking about it, but just feeling what it's like. So I'd like for us to listen just one more time to the first couple of measures of this example. Remember, the important thing is not the thinking, but the feeling. So what I'm going to be feeling is the absolute vertical togetherness when I start each measure, that is when the hands come together each time. And then I'm going to be listening for the smoothness and the expressive contour of the melodic line. Let's take a look at example number 3 from the Chopin-Barker rule. We have 8 against 3. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 1 for the final togetherness is 25. So on your printout, you see 25 little note heads with the polyrhythm organized appropriately in each hand. Again, same process. We're going to feel that initial togetherness, and I'm going to go to the place where the left hand triggers the right hand. So I feel the F sharps together. Then do you hear the left-right combination? Again, it's like that drunken togetherness. Okay, they're related in a way that they can't be separated, but they're just not an absolute vertical alignment there. So I play it from the beginning to that first moment, and after I'm secure there, I'm going to pass back to the right hand. Then I'll go to the next moment where there's an intersection. Right, left here. So do you hear how that works again? It's together. Left, right, left. And then I continue back to the right hand, and then the final togetherness here. time without the talking. I don't know whether you can hear the intersections or not. It should just sound like a smoothly flowing line, and those intersections are worked in each time. And again, what we've done is we've created a habit by working in the same way. However long it takes, I'm going to feel this together, I'm going to feel that intersection, I'm going to feel that intersection, and then feel that togetherness. So once that feels comfortable, and once you're confident that that's working, you can begin to let it go a little bit faster. And as it goes faster, you stop thinking so much about it. You simply feel the initial togetherness and the final togetherness, and you've worked it in so that the right cueing, the right triggering occurs. Now let's take a look at another example. Number 4 on your printout. This is from the Chopin Nocturne, 7 against 6. It's in measure 2 of example 4. Now when you have a polyrhythm where one hand has one more note than the other, you have kind of a zigzag effect. That is right, left, right, left throughout the piece. We're going to work this out in the same way. 7 times 6 is 42. Add 1, 43. You see 43 little note heads there that are organized to reflect the polyrhythm 7 against 6. And we'll start in the same way. So what we have here is an initial togetherness. Both hands play at exactly the same moment. Then the right brings in the left, going back to the right, to the left, going back to the right, and so forth. So you see this kind of zigzagging that goes from one hand to the other. Let me not talk this time so that I can listen better, and you watch what the two hands do. I'm going to play a little bit slowly. Then together again. So what we're thinking of in this example is the initial togetherness, and then that zigzag effect where the right goes to the left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, together, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, together. That's such a typical effect for Chopin, and it's beautiful. What's very interesting is that polyrhythms very often occur not only in situations where composers have written them out, such as the ones in the examples that we've just done, but also in trills. Now, the first thing to say about trills is that there's always a finite number of notes in any trill, no matter how free and fast you want it to sound. So the first order of business is to decide how many notes a trill should have. A typical example would be from the Mozart C Major Sonata 330, K330. In the second measure there of this example, we have this. I'm doing 5 notes against 2. 5 32nds against the 2 16ths. So this is a very typical kind of ornament, I would say. And what we'll do, because it's a polyrhythmic situation, is organize it in exactly the same way that we've organized the other polyrhythms. So you need, I would say, to keep in mind exactly how many notes that you're doing and be willing to do the trill slowly as you're working it out. Of course it won't go slowly in the end, but you need to work on it slowly just as you did the other polyrhythms. So let's see how that would work. I'm at the last part of measure 2 in the Mozart example where the trill starts. So I'm going to feel the togetherness in the two hands. That F has to coincide with the interval in the left hand, and again, it's one event for the body, one vertical event. It can't feel like two hands playing as much as it's simply the body working as a whole. So then the right hand has the trill. I continue here, and then it's right, left, right. Do you see how the triggering works? One more time. Together, right, left, right. Then together again in the next measure. You can see it in the little diagram that we made at the top of the page. So one more time, a little bit faster. Okay, the second left-hand note, that is the last 16th note of the measure, comes exactly in between the third and fourth notes of the right-hand trill. You can count like this if you want. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. Okay? To do more notes in that trill would make it sound choked. It needs that many notes. But again, it's extremely valuable to know exactly how many notes a trill has in a situation like this. Now, another very typical trill situation is 3 against 2, or 6 against 4 is what we have in the Mozart F major sonata example coming up next. Look at the diagram, and you'll see that you have an initial togetherness here. Again, the right brings in the left and goes back to the right. Then you have a togetherness, right, left, right, together. Okay? So the right cues the left, and the left cues back to the right. And you have that right, left, right feeling that can't be violated. Together, right, left, right, together, right, left, right, together. One more time. Then as I go a little faster, already at that speed I can't think the intersections, but I've taught my hands, I should say, from having practiced the relationships, exactly when to come in. So as the trill goes a little bit faster, you'll see that I'm playing together, I'm starting together and I'm ending together. It's impossible to think exactly how the hands are intersecting there, but I can feel on the fingertip level that the left hand comes in at the right moment and then feeds back to the right hand, so that we get that exact combination that we practiced slower. Let's do one more, and this is from the Schubert B-flat Sonata. Here we have a situation of 5 against 4. And again, one hand has just one more note than the other hand, so it's one of those zigzag situations. If you'll take a look at the Schubert example in measure 2, the 4th beat of the measure. We're going to start exactly together. Then the right hand brings in the left, the right comes back, left, right, and then together again. So one more time. Right triggers left, triggers right, triggers left, triggers right, triggers left, triggers right, and then you feel the togetherness again. So let's try it once again. I'm going to go a little faster. And you see that I start together and I end together, and the hands work smoothly in between. That's always what you're after. You're looking for a smooth experience where you don't have to think too much, it's just an automatic response for the body, but you've worked it out in a way slowly where it can go together faster. So I hope this has given you a little insight into the way these polyrhythms work. It's important, first of all, to understand that in the learning stage, you have to take the time to think about what happens. How are the hands together? How one triggers or one cues the other. And then let that go into an experience that is completely physical in the playing stage, so that you're simply listening to the flow of the music. I also wanted to make the point that working mechanically in this way doesn't detract from the eventual musical expression at all. What you do is you simply ensure that the two hands will work together in a very particular way, and then you can bend, mold, shape the phrase in whatever way is most expressive in the end.